Hey folks, I'm Wess Brown, resident bow technician and media producer for Redline Bow Hunting, and today we're going to talk about the torch again. We're in my indoor shooting range slash man cave slash storage slash everything else, but yeah, we're getting a lot of questions of different features about the torch. Like how is the torch different from this brand or this site? What makes the torch different from every other movable sight out there? What's unique about it? And, sometimes we don't really have an answer because it really has all the features that your high-end sites out there have. You have your 380, 450, $500 sites, and, the torch really is packed full of a lot of features that, those higher-end sites have. But what we're going to talk about today is some of the obscure, maybe not so noticeable features that the torch carries with it. And then also some other stuff that you may have already known or is very obvious. But we're going to try to get through all of that today in a quick manner so that you guys can get about your day and go buy yourself a new torch, because after listening to this, you're like, oh my God, it's packed full of features and I want them all. But yeah, so that's what we're going to dig into today. So yeah, let's just do it right now. The first thing I like to go over of the torch is obviously the light here. So with the torch, we built in a light. And for some people that poses a problem, especially out west, but in some states you can let that battery run out because it's an internal battery that you recharge. So you can let that run out and you can still use the sight. I believe Washington State is one that you really can't. So don't worry, we're working on stuff to make sure that you guys can utilize the torch without being in jeopardy of getting in trouble with Fish and Game. But yeah, right here you got a nice button and you have a 4-stage rheostat light. Super simple, very bright, and also dimmable. For me, it takes the halo off of the fiber optics. You can see the fiber optics, they're wrapped around here. We got about 2 feet for both the top and the bottom pin. But when it's super bright out, I turn that rheostat on and it actually takes the halo or that starbursting effect off of the pin itself, which is actually pretty neat. Next up is what you don't see a lot of is being able to change different levels. So you see, like I have a blue level, we have the green level, and on my torch here I have the red level. So if you want to customize it, if you like blue on your setups, or if you can just see blue better, I will say this: the green really lights up really well with that rheostat. I'll just kind of put it in here and see if we can get it to glow. So it's at its brightest, you can kind of see how much that blue really makes that green pop. I really enjoy that. I think it's cool. But I like red because we're Redline, and I have red stringing cables on my bow and all that kind of stuff. So I just stick with the red. The next, I guess it could be obvious, is these two little pegs here that you put on your yardage wheel. Super, super cool. You have a lot of different options for all the different holes that are here that you can put this on. But they're there so that you can go as fast as you want up or down for your yardage. It kind of gives a little bit better leverage. For me, like kind of just a little bit easier for my hand instead of having to wrap my hand around the entire wheel, which even that's not that hard either. But it's a cool little added feature that we're able to put on here that is not mandatory, so you can take them on, put them on, take them off anytime you want. The next cool feature that I like, and a lot of people won't notice it, is that there is a stopper right here. I have not yet put mine in place where it would stop me at 20 yards, or it would allow me to bottom out at a certain yardage. But it's a cool little feature that you have a lot of different holes here throughout the entire site. So you can see that you can place it anywhere you want. So, depending on where your sight tape is, you can customize that exactly where you want it to. It's a small feature, but for a lot of people, depending on your situation, it's a very unique and needed feature for some people. So keep that in mind. Let's go back up. Another small feature would be our brass our brass fitting right here. This is self-lubricating. I have yet to see any type of deterioration, and I use the crap out of it. But it is just in a windage adjustment, so it just gives you that extra security, knowing that you have a really nice piece of brass there that you're going to be able to glide left and right for your windage. It's just something that we definitely wanted to have in this sight. It really adds to the durability and the reliability of the sight itself. Another really cool feature I like, which is obvious, but maybe some people don't understand why it's there, are these big knobs. So obviously this knob here unlocks your housing to take it out and put it back on, and then you have your unlocking for your windage. That, you know, the one feature, if you watch my previous videos, this feature, you have to actually pull it out 2 full turns to be able to mess with your windage. The reason being is because if you bump it, or if it gets, you know, ran across something, it might fully turn one whole time, but it will not engage your windage to be moved. So make sure that if you are sighting this in, just 2 full turns out, and you'll be able to make your adjustments left and right. So we made these knobs big so that you can get a nice big grip on them, and you can feel very secure when you go to tighten them, which is I enjoy not having to use a small wing nut or anything else that maybe, I don't know, when my hands are cold, if I'm sighting it in outside or I'm trying to move things around. Just kind of really makes it easier on the hands, and kind of, for me, visually pleasing as well. So it's a pretty neat little feature there. Let's see, what else do we have here? Obviously, one of our main features is having 3 access points. So of course you have your second access point right here where your dovetail connects to the rest of the sight. You have your third access point right here at the top with 2 screws. And then you have your first access point here at the housing. And you'll notice that you'll have little arrows with lines here so that you'll be able to tell where they were when you first initially set them, or when you're trying to make those micro adjustments. And you know, if you go out into the field, it's a good reference point to go to make sure that your access points, depending on the type of hunt you're on, were not changed or moved in any manner. So I mean, that's kind of a standard for us when we talk about our type of sights that we like to run, as far as the Torch, the RL2s, the DTM, the RL1, stuff like that. We like to make sure we have those access points so that it can be tuned perfectly to your setup. One of my favorite features, as far as kind of small things that we did to the Torch to set ourselves apart, and also to make sure that you, the shooter, and the hunter, is going to enjoy using this sight, and that is the locking mechanism right back here. So this locking mech is able to be in the down position that it's in, so it's kind of like a little wing right here. In the down position that it's in, this is unlocked, and then just a really quick up is locked. So if you look at it from a sight perspective, if my hand is like this on my sight, I can unlock it with my thumb, and I can go right into making my adjustments, and then I can lock it really fast. You know, if my thumb is already there, why not put a lock there instead of having to take it off of the yardage wheel and then go back and tighten it somewhere else? Now, we do have sights that are like that, and they do make sense, but you know, when we looked at the Torch and we were able to utilize our Project Red with our dealers and ambassadors, this is one of the things that they wanted to see, and I wanted to make sure, or we wanted to make sure, that it was packed into this Torch, the new sight. What's really unique, this is where we're going to get into some things that people don't usually see in a sight. And you know, what we found out is a lot of people like to tinker, right? Like, I mean, we really already kind of knew that, but a lot of people like to make sure that they can, you know, especially the mechanically inclined folks, they wanted to make sure that they could customize this specifically to them. Or if something like came loose, or maybe you are feeling a little bit of like movement in the sight, I've found this in a lot of high-end sights that you have to almost take apart the entire sight to find a set screw that you had to tighten, because after 150, 200, 500 shots, it loosened up on us. And you know, like, no matter what, mechanics or mechanical things will fail, or they'll loosen up at some point in time unless they're permanently fixed into the sight. or into whatever it's screwed into. So we want to make sure that almost everything on this site is accessible to the hunter or the shooter. And so one of the cool things is, I'm going to use this little screwdriver here, is you'll see that there is a set screw right on the top here, and there are a set screw right here, and this is all by the locking mechanism here. And then there's a set screw on the bottom of that, and you're going to see a set screw right here as well. And what we did there is those set screws, if you loosen them all up, you'll start getting a little bit of play within the rail of where the this cog goes up and down for your yardage. And what you'll notice when you tighten it down a lot, you'll almost make it to where it's permanently locked. So essentially, if you wanted to do that for someone just getting into archery, but you wanted to get them a really high-end versatile sight, you could do that to where they could never move it, even if they tried to unlock it. So it would essentially be a 2-pin, fixed pin sight for them until they got used to something, so that they could be confident with a movable sight. The other option is, this is kind of the more common, is that when you tighten them or loosen them, you can hone this, this in to where you can have the exact amount of pressure or tension for that yardage wheel. So if you want to make it super easy to dial down or dial up really fast, you can do that with this sight. Or if you want a little bit more tension like I do, I like to have a little bit of tension so I can put a little bit more pressure onto that. I don't know, I feel like I can be a little bit more precise when I'm trying to hit those exact yardages, whether I want to go to 28 yards or 42 yards, things of that nature. But it is a really cool feature right here. Just in that little spot, you can really mess with the tension on how hard or easy it is to go up and down on that cog for your yardage. It was one of my features that I really loved about this sight. So keep that in mind if you have a torch and you wanted to kind of mess around with things. You can mess around with that area. Just keep in mind, guys, everything has a tolerance. So do not over tighten. Do not, you know, these are very small. So if you loosen them too much, you could lose that set screw. So just keep that in mind, guys. But it's a very unique and cool feature that really, truly sets the torch apart from the rest of the competition out there. The next one that I really, really like, because it kind of gives me a little bit more confidence in a sight like this, is the ability to lock my windage. And now, obviously, I showed you guys the windage lock on the front and, you know, the big knob. But what happens if I'm out on a hunt and, you know, God forbid, that front knob fully falls out, okay? And, you know, I was like, man, I really practiced a lot to be able to hone this sight in perfectly. But let's say this thing comes all the way out like this. And now I'm screwed because I don't have that. But what we did put in this sight, and you'll notice right here, is these two screws. You have one here, and you have one here. I'll point them out. You have one here, and you have one here. And now you can loosen those and tighten those, and that will create tension or less tension on how you move your windage left and right. If you have it really loose, it'll be very easy to turn it left and right. I put mine down. I kind of tighten mine down a little bit, just so that like I could really try to get that, you know, 1/16 of an inch maybe, if I'm really trying to hone in my sight to whatever distance as far as my left and rights go. Or you can loosen it up and just make those major adjustments as quick as you possibly can without really having to really focus hard. But anyway, those two screws right there, when tightened down all the way, now again, there's tolerances, so do not over tighten, but you can tighten those down just enough to where if your windage is exactly where you want it to be and you don't ever want it to move again, you can tighten those two right here, boom, boom. You can tighten those screws down and you will not be able to move your windage. Now, if you don't tighten them down enough, it will be very, very hard to move that windage. But all in all, even right there, like I tighten mine down, I cannot move it, and my locking knob is gone. I don't have it there anymore, and I just can't move my windage. And for me, I mean, like, I don't do a ton of backcountry stuff. I do have some stuff coming up here on 2023, but I do travel a lot, and you know, the possibility of losing something off my sight is always there. Hopefully I make sure of things that that doesn't happen, but that is always there. And to have that reassurance, knowing that my windage, when I set it perfectly and I tighten those down, it is not going anywhere. I just think that's a freaking awesome, awesome feature. So moving on from that feature, we'll do a couple more. Is your metal sight tapes. So obviously you can see all the sight tapes right here. They come with 20 sight tapes. And well, it's 20 metal sight tapes, but they're front and back, so there are 40 of them, which is super awesome. And then in a previous video, I kind of highlighted, you'll see that there's a hole here, and there's a hole here, and then obviously there's a hole where these two screws are, and then what you don't see is there's a hole just above this one and just below the top one here, and that gives you a lot of room to be able to place that tape exactly where you need it, depending on how this sight's sighted in for you. Another cool one as far as sighting in and making sure you have clearances, you have like these different adjustment holes at your second access point, so you can take this bracket or the dovetail up and down on your sight, and that's going to give you a lot of room of adjustment for that gang adjustment up and down. And you really don't see that in a lot of hunting sites. You see it more so in target sites and things of that nature, but we wanted to put it on a hunting site because it's just going to give you that maximum movability when you're trying to sight in. And then if you're trying to reach out to 100, 120, depending on your bow setup, there's a good possibility that this sight's going to work for you because of that large movement there. Of course, with any movable sight, you're going to have different pins, pinned indicators for your yardage. Mine on here only has one for the front one because that's how I like to shoot this sight, but it does come with two. So you'll have two different yardage indicators, mainly because it's a 2-pin sight. And not only do you get it on that front, but you also get it on the wheel, which, another feature is you get to see your yardage in 2 different spots depending on how you hold your bow. So I hold my bow a couple different ways, and luckily each way I hold it, I'm able to see the yardage almost no matter what, which is a pretty awesome feature. And of course on the wheel you get the 2 yardage indicators that are highly adjustable. You can see all the different adjustment spots on the wheel there. So you can if you want it more on the front, you can do that. You want it more on the back, you can do that as well. And probably the last feature I'll go over here is the big gear on this rail here. Now, a lot of you guys have been saying you don't like the red. Don't worry, we have a gray option as well. It's like a dark gunmetal gray. But you'll see how big these teeth are here. I mean, those are pretty large teeth. And just from experience, I have had some dirt in there. And because of how big those teeth are and how big the teeth are on the cog wheel inside here, I'm not sure if you can see that, but these big teeth there, I mean, they just kind of go right through all that dirt and debris, which is a very nice feature, especially when you're going to go out backcountry hunting, or if you're down in Texas, sandy areas, things like that. You're not going to have to worry about this thing seizing up. Now, obviously, things happen. But all in all, from my experience in testing this, I have yet to really find anything that's going to clog this thing up, which is just an outstanding feature. But again, guys, one last feature, guys, real quick. If you are worried about your internal battery of the torch going out, we do supply you with a second spot for an external light. So if you wanted to go out and purchase a light that fits this, you're more than welcome to, as kind of like an insurance policy. I really just love a light on a site in general. I hunt out of a blind a lot, especially for turkey season, because I'm lazy. But having that second light, just in case I left this on too long, even though it has a 20-hour runtime, maybe it went dead or I forgot the charger or whatever, I have a little insurance policy there for a light. But other than that, guys, if you guys have any questions about any of these features that I showed you today, shoot us a message at info@redlinebowhunting.com. You can find that on our website at redlinebowhunting.com, or you can just shoot a comment here at wherever you're seeing this video, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and we'll make sure we get back to you guys. But anyway, the torch is full of features, guys. We love this thing. I love this, and I cannot wait. I shot a doe with it this year, or actually 2022 late season. But I do have a hog hunt coming up. I'm going to be turkey hunting with it, of course. And then in August, I have a muskox and caribou hunt. And then obviously I have the 2023 deer season. And I'm super pumped to put this thing to the test as far as getting as many kills on it as I can. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.